Akim Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash, and double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us His truth. A sincere Shalom to the hopeful like this out there listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom. All right, Akim. So what I got here is this article pulled up by Reuters. It says U.S. adding firing squads, electrocution, and gassing to federal execution methods. And this article was written in April 24th, 2026. Okay, so this was today, Salakia, 2 days from before today. So today is Sunday, so Saturday, Friday, this was written. And I want to get into this a little bit, man, because, the scriptures tell us that, we would be hated. Okay. We would be hated by all men, ultimately, for example, of course, the Edomites, the other heathen nations, even 2/3 of our own people hate us because we come in the spirit of Yahweh Shai. And we know that back then they hated Yahweh Shai. In fact, it's the Israelites back then who got Yahweh Shai executed. Talking about we have no king but Caesar. You see, because they were in that spirit back then of, basically selling out to the heathens, living according to their ways. They weren't ready to come back to Yahweh Shai. They weren't ready to, follow the instructions of the Bible, which is our book. Okay? Because we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites of the Bible. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians. Okay? And those of us lifting up the standard of Yahweh Shai, going out to the highways and byways, making these sit-down lessons, making live lessons, so on and so forth. Okay, we're out here teaching the truth, right? We are preaching this gospel to all the world, okay? And we know Yahweh Shai was killed for that. And like the scriptures say, the student is not above his master. And so, since the student is not above his master, they will persecute us just like they persecuted him, roughly paraphrasing. Okay, so this is a possibility for some brothers out there. We got to understand that we might be looking at a guillotine. We might be looking at a firing squad. We might be looking at getting gassed to death. Whatever execution methods they have, we may end up dying for the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Okay, and I say may end up dying because, of course, certain brothers are going to get powers. Certain brothers, and those are the two best scenarios, that you either be put to death or that you gain powers and are able to defend yourself. Because the other alternative, which you don't want that to be you, is certain jakes that thought they believed, or maybe they were just being insincere the whole time. Hey, they're gonna fold when this time comes, when they're faced with death. They're going to, they're not gonna stand 10 toes down for Yahweh Shai. They're gonna do whatever these people are saying, which is more than likely taking that chip. They're going to take the chip, all right, or whatever it may be. Okay, they're going to bug out. But those of us that are sincere in this truth and we truly believe, okay, the Lord is going to put a spirit on us to endure this like men, okay, dying for what we believe in, okay, knowing that we're going to be raised up at the last. Okay, so I want to get into this just real quick. Nothing too big. I had had a brother send me the bits and pieces of this article because, they trying to get you to pay a subscription and, fuck all that. But it says, Justice Department cites drug supply problems to add firing squad, electrocution, and gas asphyxiation. Legal challenges expected, but Supreme Court has upheld all execution methods so far. States reviving older methods due to drug access issues with Alabama pioneering nitrogen gas execution. Right? So apparently there's a drug shortage for whatever the reason may be. Could have something to do with the war. Either way, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. It's all by design. Okay. And ultimately, the scriptures told us this would happen. So for a time, they didn't have these harsh, old school execution methods, but now they're bringing them back. When Trump came into office, they had made those guillotines. Let me see. It has something to do with Trump, if I'm not mistaken. The Trump administration did take significant steps to expand and expedite federal execution methods. Firing squad, April 2026. Right, that's what we're reading about now. But they did mention something about the guillotine, so that's gonna be ultimately in there as well, man. These different execution methods, whether it be guillotine, firing squad. Okay, so getting back to the article. It says April 24, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration plans to add firing squads, electrocution, and gas asphyxiation as alternative methods of executing people convicted of the gravest federal crimes. And you know how they've been framing it recently, that anyone that speaks against capitalism or anybody that speaks against the American way in general, okay, you're considered Antifa. And if you're considered Antifa, then you're considered a terrorist, and you deserve to die in one of the most terrible, gruesome ways. Okay, so it's all framing it in order to put those to death who are against this system, especially the number one enemy of these devils is us here at Great Millstone, teaching the true wisdom, knowledge, understanding of Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, preaching the gospel just like Yahweh Shai did. Okay, which is the number one threat, because it's through us that all this truth is coming out. All these different truthers and these other channels out there in the world that are getting truth, they learned it from us, man. It's just that their channels are a little bit more flashy. They put a little more money into it, because they can. They're in Babylon. They're living according to Babylon. They've got Babylon money. Okay, but we give you the raw truth. I mean, as you can see, I got screenshots from a cell phone of an article, and I'm bringing out truth. This isn't fancy. There's no music playing in the background, right? But someone's going to see this in the future and bring it out on one of their channels. And so all this truth that's being spread, it comes from the prophets, okay? But it says the recommendation came in a Justice Department report fulfilling Trump's promise to resume capital punishment at the federal level in his second term. In his first term, which ended in 2021, he resumed it after a 20-year gap, executing 13 federal prisoners with lethal injections in his final few months in office. All right. It says Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who released the report, has authorized seeking death sentences against 9 people after Trump rescinded a moratorium on federal execution by his predecessor, Joe Biden, the department said. Okay, so they're reviving old methods, as it says here. Okay. This modification will help ensure the department is prepared to carry out lawful executions, even if a specific drug is unavailable. Right. They want to be prepared even if these other quote-unquote softer ways of death penalty are not available. They'll still be able to execute whoever they want to execute, okay? And we know that a lot of these draconian measures are coming, man, okay? Especially through Nero Trump, which is that fierce king, that cruel lord. Let's get that, the cruel lord. Okay. This is Isaiah 19:4. It says in the Egyptians, right? Speaking of modern day Egyptians, so-called Americans here in Babylon, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. That's Donald Trump. And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. That's right, he's that fierce king. Okay, and basically you could see that it has to be him, man, because he's bringing back firing squad. He's bringing back guillotines. You know, they talking about asphyxiation, gas chamber, whatever the hell. You know, they bringing back execution methods. Okay, this is an administration that is obsessed with execution. Okay, the Epstein the Epstein regime is bringing out firing squad and all manner of execution for those who don't want to be a part of this new system, right? Because the NWO is on the way, man. Okay, they're crashing the dollar systematically. You know, they're driving up prices. They're causing food shortages to create chaos. You know, getting you people riled up so you people can, you know, start an insurrection against the government. And once all hell's broken loose, they're going to offer the solution, which they already had in their back pocket, and that's the MOTB, the RFID chip, which is going to be inserted underneath the skin in the hand, or also brain-computer interfaces, which are to be surgically implanted in the brain. Okay, these will be mandatory for buying and selling in this new society that's on the way. And those who do not comply or do not want to be a part of it are going to face these execution methods. All right, alongside with a myriad of other threats like starvation. Okay, sword. Okay, so if you escape the starvation and the people trying to murder you for food, now you got to deal with this draconian government that wants to put you to death, especially if you speak against them. Okay, and that's what Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right, the beast is NATO and the EU, and the image, or the image that it speaks, the way the image speaks is through its philosophies. All right, and if you don't worship those philosophies, those ways of life, because in the ancient world, when people worshipped idols, those idols basically they would have rules, and there was a way of life. If you worship a certain idol, you had to live your life a certain way. It was a certain lifestyle that idol came with. Just like America comes with a certain lifestyle and a certain mindset. But if you are not worshiping that, then they're going to cause you to be killed, either through starvation, ostracizing you, cutting you off from society, or through one of these execution methods. So it's coming a time where we could possibly lose our lives, brethren, and we got to be prepared for it mentally, spiritually. Okay, and it doesn't hurt to be prepared physically, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Okay, you don't have to know how to fight or know how to shoot a gun to survive in these times. It definitely doesn't hurt, just like anything doesn't hurt. But we know that according to biblical prophecy, right, the Lord is going to give us spiritual powers, which no gun could match that. No fighting style could match that. Okay, you're going to be able to go into somebody's mind and make them shoot their own selves with their own gun. You're going to go into their own mind and make them run off a cliff. You know, you could look at them and make their head explode. Okay, these powers, we had so much powers when we were Salakia. We had so many powers. Lord's will would be the elect. We were those angels in the beginning. All right, and if we created this universe with these spiritual powers, imagine what we could do to destroy an enemy who's coming up against us. Okay, so these devils are not going to be any match for the elect of Yasharallah. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Okay, the only thing you should be afraid of is Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai himself. because Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai himself is the one who's going to determine what your end is. Okay, whether you endure to the end or whether you bug out. And that's the only thing to be afraid of, is to bug out. Because if you die or if you get powers, you're good. You're going to end up on that chariot either way. Okay, and that death, that's an honor to die for the Lord. That's an automatic crown. Okay, and so that's a beautiful end, just like getting spiritual powers is a beautiful end. But the worst thing that could happen here is that you weren't really about this truth, and you end up bugging out at the last, and that's going to be a terrible, terrible day for you. So we definitely don't want that. Now I did want to grab some precepts here. Okay, this is Proverbs 9 and 10. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, right? If you fear the Lord, that's the beginning of wisdom, man. Okay, once you fear the Lord, okay, you will make the right decisions, man. Okay, you're gonna start obeying him, keeping the law to the best of your abilities, right? Taking heed to these prophecies and doing what you're supposed to, keeping the faith. It says in the knowledge of the holy is understanding, right? This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of this Bible, that's what matters. All right, nothing else matters. All right, Salaki, give me 1 second. Nothing else matters other than the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of this truth. Okay, because like the scripture says in Isaiah 33 and 6, it says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability, going into mental stability of thy times. What times? These times we're living in now, when all hell's breaking loose. They're allowing firing squad, and they're gonna bring back them guillotines if they haven't already, man. They bought a bunch of guillotines. I forgot. I made an article about that a couple years back. Those guillotines are there, man. Best believe them guillotines are there. Now they're just bringing about different methods, right? So you may go out by firing squad, you may go out by guillotine. It says, and strength of salvation, the fear of Yahweh is his treasure. So our treasure, all right, unlike this Babylonian money, these $100 bills, these hundos and racks and stacks, hey, that shit doesn't matter. The real wealth is the fear of Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai. If you fear the Lord, you're going to pass this test. There's nothing they could do to you that's going to scare you more than the thought of not receiving salvation and of not obeying Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai, where it tells you to endure to the end. Okay? And that's what we want to do, is we want to endure to the end. All right, this is Matthew 10:22. It says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. Right, this is why they're doing this. They're getting ready to execute the prophets, man. There's going to be a great insurrection against us. All right, and ultimately some brethren will end this way. All right, I won't say will end this way, will go out this way, but remember, when you die for the Lord, that's an automatic crown, man. All right, you're going to end up on that chariot. Okay, and when you come back, best believe you're going to get your revenge and you're going to whoop some ass. Okay, because these people out here think this is the end. These people believe in YOLO. You only live once. That's a goddamn lie. Okay, once you die from this body, you're going to get that new body in the chariots up there, and you're going to come back down. And those people that killed you, they're gonna have hell to pay, man. The Lord is gonna give us the ability to destroy our enemies when he returns, man. Right? It's gonna be Yahweh Shai, the angels, and then we're gonna get busy as well, man. All right, so don't think this is the end. This is only the beginning. Okay, it says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. That's right. It's not the end yet, man. It's not the end until you're facing that guillotine, okay, and you refuse to put that chip on you. You refuse, to sell out. You get that guillotine. Hey, that's a beautiful way to go out, through the Spirit. It's easier said than done. Okay, but we have faith. The Lord is going to put that Spirit on us, man. Lord's will, we be the elect. We're going to be all right. All right, so with that, let's keep it going. I want to grab a couple more precepts here, man. This is Revelation 2 and verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, which is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, right? To be tried, to be tested. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days, right? It's a complete amount of days. So it could be more, it could be less. The point being, you're going to be in a prison, right? And they may be fucking with you, putting hell on you, doing all type of, things to make you break. They might starve you out. You could just, hey, whatever it may be. The scriptures also say, just keep this in mind. The scriptures also say, this is 1 Corinthians 10:13, there had no temptation taken you, but such as in common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, right? So the Lord is not going to give you some crazy, they're not going to cause some crazy ass torture method that'll make you break. If you're sincere, you'll be able to bear whatever they're going to do to you. Okay, it says, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it, right? The Lord's going to give you that way to escape, okay? Whether it be through strength, spiritual, endurance, or through spiritual powers themselves, man. Because, hey, not every brother's going to go out this way. It says, you may have tribulation 10 days, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life, right? That was Revelation 2 and 10. Right, so be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Right, that's that automatic crown, man. That's a very beautiful thing. Okay, and yeah, man, that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for that crown, and ultimately, again, wanna expect. We hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Like one of the brethren here at GMS, he said this once. He said, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, right? You got the firing squad, you got the guillotines, but we may get spiritual powers. So keep that in mind. Have faith, because that takes faith in and of itself, to believe that you're going to have powers like the superheroes in the movies and greater. It says we're going to do greater things than Yahushua did because he goeth unto his Father. Okay, that takes a lot of faith to believe that. All right, and we believe it here at Great Millstone through the Spirit, that we're going to be able to do these things, man. All right, hopefully sooner rather than later. Lord's will, we get it on this side and can fucking, fuck Esau up. But, we might have to go out through one of these methods first before we receive those powers. Hey, so be it. Whatever the Lord has in store for us, we believe we're going to be able to get through it. Okay? And that's Sirach 4:28. It says, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. That's right. Because again, the Lord is going to lift up a standard here. So, I want to make this lesson speaking about the terrible things we might have to go through but I want to also make it a complete lesson by letting you know that there is a possibility for any particular brother, okay, that you may not go out that way, but you may get spiritual powers. You may be able to fly. You may be able to shoot lightning out of your hands, laser beams out of your eyes. You may receive super strength. You may be able to use telepathy or, shoot radiation or whatever the Lord has in store for you, okay, in order to defend yourself and to bring glory unto the name of Yahweh Bashem Awashai. Okay, so hope for the best, man. Hope for the best. All right, visualize yourself using them powers, brethren. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That's part of the vision. Okay, we may get powers. We may have to die. Visualize yourself dying. Visualize yourself receiving powers and ultimately ending up on that chariot. Right, that's what we ought to fill our mind with, those thoughts, because this is what the scriptures say. Okay, Isaiah 59:19, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west. Right, that's where we are now in America. This is the Western Hemisphere. and his glory from the rising of the sun, right, over there in the east, because there's Israelites worldwide of the elect. It says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. Okay, and that standard will include those spiritual powers, man. When Michael stands up, all right, the Lord is going to give us power to defend ourselves against these damn devils, man. So you might end up breaking them chains. You may be in prison. You may end up breaking them chains, you know, shooting lightning out of your hand, killing the guards, and fly away. You know, whatever it may be. Maybe an angel comes in and releases you and you are able to escape. Okay, there's a few different ways that it could happen, that it could play out. Right, but definitely hope for the best, but prepare for the worst also, Akim. And like always, keep watching unto prayer, keep believing, keep the faith, and I pray that you brothers and sisters out there watching endure to the end. So I want to finish by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwarash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful like this out there listening, learning, and or teaching the truth. In sincerity, shalom wa. Abba, Baba, shalom.